Hi everyone, I'm Sandy and this is my channel, Sandy's Happy Plants. I hope you guys are all having a good summer so far. And over here in Winnipeg, summer is unfortunately almost over. But before it is over, I want to make a little video and talk about my favorite plants of the summer. So let's get right into it. The first plant I have right here is one I just recently got. I just recently got this maybe like a week ago or so. And this beautiful, beautiful plant with really cool leaves. This one is called a Monstera Peru. It's also known as Monstera Green Galaxy, which is actually what I bought it as. The label said Green Galaxy. And I think the scientific name is Monstera carstenianum. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Yeah, it's probably Latin. So yeah, I'm just gonna call it Monstera Peru. And it is awesome. I love it. I think it is beautiful. Look at these cool textured leaves. It has these almost like alligator skin like looking leaves, and it's actually a little bit different than regular monsteras. These leaves actually will not fenestrate, so they will not get holes or windows in them. They just kind of grow like this, and they also kind of like are more like a succulent. They're not classified as a succulent, but they store a lot of water in these leaves because they're actually quite thick. I don't know if you can see that on the video. They're kind of thick and they actually store a lot of water in here. So you don't have to water this as much as regular monsteras. So you would probably water this when the soil kind of dries out almost completely. You can get away with not watering it for a little while. So this plant is native to South America, and it's an epiphyte. So that means it grows on trees, just like other epiphytes like orchids or other viney kind of plants. And as you can see here, it has these aerial roots. See, there's one right here. And these will attach to the tree or whatever you want. Here, I'll turn it around so you can see. There, now you can see it better. These are aerial roots, and these will actually help the vine, the plant, climb up on a tree or a trellis in the home. So these do like having a moss pole or a trellis or any kind of thing that they can climb on, just like other monsteras have. So when I was researching this plant, it seems that they are actually a little bit rare. Probably not as rare anymore as they were like a year or two ago. But yeah, I found this at Rona, out of all places. Rona actually has a pretty good garden section, a pretty good houseplant section. I find lots of my cool plants there, so hey, why not? So other than the watering needs, for these guys, you don't have to put them in as bright of light as other monsteras. These can actually get away with a little bit less light. So you can put them in a north-facing window or a little bit further away from a window. You don't want to have them in total darkness, but even in total shade, they won't die, but they just won't grow as fast and the leaves won't get as big. But yeah, they don't need as much light as other monsteras, so that's another cool thing. And just like other tropicals, they also need high humidity. So in the winter time, or if you live in a very dry climate, you might want to invest in a humidifier or use a pebble tray or anything like that. Anything that raises humidity to the right levels, which is usually around 60%. They like to be even higher, like most tropicals like to be at about 60 to 80%, even 100%, but you know, that's not really achievable. So, you know, raise the humidity up a little bit in your home so that these guys are happy. But hey, isn't that a cool plant? It's so cool. I just love it. Okay, so the second plant is this Baltic blue pothos, which is beautiful. And I'm so excited because I've been looking for one of these for a long time and I finally got one. So I'm super stoked about that. So yeah, this is the Baltic blue pothos, and oh my cat's coming. Okay, Chuffy, sit down. Okay, sorry. Okay, look at the camera if you want to be in the video. There you go. Okay, you don't. Okay, she's gonna sit down. Sorry for the tail here. Anyways, so the Baltic Blue Pothos, it was actually made by Costa Farms, and it's a clone of the Epipremnum pinnatum, which I talked about in one of my other videos. So this is actually also called Epipremnum Baltic Blue. And the leaves do fenestrate, like as you can see right here. They do fenestrate like a monstera. You can see that right here. But they're not classified as a monstera, they're classified as a pothos. So it is an epiphyte, so it's a vining plant. It grows like other pothos, you know, the vines. You can hang it in a hanging basket. You can put it onto a moss pole or some other sorts of support so it can climb. Usually when these guys climb, the leaves get a lot bigger. So when you hang these, any kind of pothos, any kind of monsteras, anything that grows as a vine, if you hang them in a basket, they look really nice in a basket too, and I do that as well. But if you hang them in a basket, the leaves won't usually get as big. If you stake them up on a trellis or a pole or any kind of climbing support, the leaves will get a lot bigger, especially the higher they climb. So the lower leaves will kind of stay smaller, and then as the more they climb up the pole, the leaves get bigger and bigger as they're getting up the pole. So that's a really cool thing. But yeah, so this is the Baltic Blue Pothos, and you can see it's called Baltic Blue because it kind of has this like bluish tint to the leaves. I don't know if that's really coming through on camera. Look at this cool leaf here. It has a split in it. So beautiful. Has a little bit of hard water stains from the store that I haven't cleaned yet, but I'm gonna clean it off soon with some neem oil, and I'll do another video on that soon. But yeah, it's just beautiful. It's just gorgeous. I love it. As for care requirements for this, it's basically just like any other pothos. They're such a non-fussy plant. Basically, bright indirect light. You can probably get away with a little bit lower light, but not too low because then the leaves will stay smaller. And yeah, watering, you just water it when it is dry to the second knuckle, when you put your finger in, or just, you know, like once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on where you live. But really non-fussy, really easy plant, really. And my next favorite plant on my list for summer is my Monstera Constellation. And I know I've talked about it in another video recently because I haven't had it that long. But I wanted to include it in this video because I just love it and I'm still super excited about it. And if you can't see it, it actually got a new leaf. It made a brand new leaf, and it's this one right here. This big leaf right here. This one. This is a new leaf. And isn't it beautiful? Just gorgeous. And yeah, so it's doing really good. I'm really happy that it's doing so good. I was really scared. I don't know if you guys watched my my video on that when I first got it, but I was a little bit scared. I didn't want to kill it, and you know, the pressure was on. But it's doing good. It's doing great. So I have to work around the cat here. Excuse me. She rules the house. They all do. But yeah, it's surprisingly been pretty easy, this Constellation. And yeah, for care requirements, I made a whole another video about it, but I can talk a little bit about it. It's basically just like other monsteras, other tropicals, bright indirect light. And for watering, these guys are a little bit sensitive to overwatering, so you want to make sure not to overwater these. Their roots are sensitive to overwatering, so you want to make sure to put it into a well-draining potting mix. And I made another video about that, so I can link it so you know how to make it. Yeah, so to water it, I usually just lift it out of the pot, water it over the sink, and I water it with filtered water or rainwater, and then just let all the water drain out the bottom and then put it back in. And right now I think I'm watering it once a week. We'll have to see how it goes in the winter, but they also really like high humidity. And that's one thing I'm a little bit worried about in our winters here, because we get really, 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 really dry winters. It's pretty bad. So I think in the winter my humidity level doesn't even budge above like 10%, sometimes 20% if I'm lucky, and that's with big humidifiers running all day and night. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for these, because I know they're sensitive to low humidity or dryness in the air. But yeah, so this is another one of my favorite plants. I just love it. And if you're worried about it, if you want to get one and you're scared, don't be. It's not that hard to keep. So I say go for it, get one. Okay, so the next plant on my favorite plant lists for the summer is my Monstera Albo, which I also just recently got. And I'm dropping soil on my cat. This, actually, I'm also really pleasantly surprised how easy it is. And as you can see, it's only one leaf, but there is a new one coming. Look at this. And I got this, I think I got this about a month ago now. And it was only one leaf. This one wasn't there yet. So it was only this big leaf here, and it had a little nubbin on the bottom there, so I was watching it, and now it is making a new leaf, and it looks like it's just like a tiny little leaf coming, but we'll see how it goes. So far so good. It's been not really fussy. It's been good. So yeah, so this is the Monstera Albo. It's beautiful. As you can see, it has these it's beautifully variegated with white, and it looks very similar to the Thai Constellation. So let's see in contrast what the Thai looks like. I'll show you a variegated leaf, so that is, or like a fenestrated leaf. Ooh, there. So this is the Thai Constellation. You can see like the dots are a little bit smaller, and they're kind of all over the leaf. And the plant itself is a little bit more light green. And then the Monstera Albo has, I don't want to tip it too much, but it has more bigger pieces of white in it. And it's a little darker. The green is a little bit darker than the Thai Constellation. So yeah. Monstera Albo is from Central America. It's also known as Albo borsingiana. So I'm probably not saying that right either, but you can just call it Monstera Albo. The care requirements for this, I treat it the same as the Thai Constellation. So bright indirect light. I have both of these in an east facing window, and in the northern hemisphere, of course. And so they get some morning light, which is fine. Like they get some morning direct sun on the leaves, which is okay for these because they're variegated, which means that they can actually handle a little bit more direct sun than non-variegated monsteras, because the white parts actually don't have as much chlorophyll, so the plant can't make as much energy. So it needs a little bit more light than all green plants, basically. But having said that, the white parts also sunburn easier. So you do have to watch out that you don't put it in too much direct sun. But some morning sun, some evening sun is okay, as long as they're not getting scorched. And it's the same kind of well-draining potting mix, just like my other monsteras. And I haven't repotted these two yet, the Thai Constellation or the Monstera Albo. I left them in the same pot that I bought them in because I didn't want to shock them too much. You don't really want to repot them right when you get them home because it's already enough of a shock to be in a new house, new environment, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna let them chill for a little bit in these pots, and I'll probably repot them maybe next spring. We'll see. yeah, probably next spring. I don't think I'm gonna do it before the winter. Spring, I find, is always the best time to repot them. Yeah, I mean, of course, if you have to repot a plant, like if it's really root bound or whatever, just do it whenever. But in the spring, it's usually a little bit better. Yeah, so for watering, just like the Monstera type Constellation, the Albo also doesn't like to be overwatered. It's also kind of prone to root rot, so don't overwater it. Just kind of like I stick my finger right in, and I feel if it's dry, and I let it dry out quite a bit before I water it again. So yeah, so that's the Monstera Albo, and I just love this one too. I haven't even made a video about this one yet that I got it. I was gonna, and then I got COVID. I got sidetracked. But yeah, yeah, so here it is. I love this one too. It's just so beautiful. So my next favorite plant that I'm really loving right now is my Hoya pubicalyx. And this started off as a cutting from my mom's work. Well, it's actually a bunch of cuttings, and I put them all in the same pot together. But yeah, they were all just tiny cuttings, and they've grown so much. I think I've had them now for, I think it was the beginning of the year. It might have been like February or something. Maybe January, and they started as like really tiny little cuttings, and they've grown so much. I can't even believe it. Hoya pubicalyx, also known as Royal Hawaiian Purple Hoya, or Red Hoya, or okay, don't show your butt to the camera, please. Nope, nobody wants to see that. Okay, no, go. Cats. Anyways, this is also called Hoya Chimera by some people. But yeah, Royal Hawaiian Purple Hoya, because actually when you put this in really bright light, the leaves actually will turn kind of like bronze, kind of reddish. And the flowers, there's actually flowers like all Hoyas do. The flowers can be like pink to purple color, and they're really pretty. So, and I guess they're from Hawaii. Well, they're actually, I think they're native to the Philippines. Yes, they're native to the Philippines. But so maybe they have them a lot in Hawaii. I'm not really sure why it's called Hawaiian, but hey, if you know, leave it in the comments. But it's really pretty. The leaves, look at the leaves. They have these silver specks on them. Really cool. And these are all young leaves. You can see how bright green they are. It's because they're really young. So all of this really bright green growth here, that's all new growth. So all of this came from just like a few months. And then you can see there's actually 2 vines. I actually have it on orchid sticks. I don't know if it fit into the frame here. There you go. And there's 2 vines actually going up. So that's how much has grown. I'm pretty impressed with that actually. And I really love this one too. With Hoya, well, with most Hoyas actually like to dry out between watering. And this one is no exception, it's the same. And Hoyas are actually an epiphyte as well. What an epiphyte is basically a plant that grows on trees and branches. They don't really need soil. We have them in soil as houseplants because that's just what's easiest, I suppose, and that's what we're used to. We have to somehow display it, right? Other than that, we just put it on. We can like put it like on the wall. Like there's a way to mount epiphytes in your home, like on pieces of board, and there's ways to do it. Well, maybe we'll go into this in another video. I have an idea for one of my staghorn ferns that I actually want to do. So maybe I'll make a video on that. But for now, let's just talk about this. But yeah, so an epiphyte actually has aerial roots and roots that actually can soak up moisture and nutrients just from the air, just from the moisture in the air. So that's what an epiphyte is. And so Hoyas are also that. So therefore you don't need to water them as much, but they do like high humidity. So they want to be in areas where it's ambient humidity like is very high, just like most other tropicals really. these guys can actually handle quite a bit of direct sun. They will burn after a little bit. Like if you put it in like full direct southern, like south facing sun, the leaves will burn eventually, but they'll turn like bronzy golden, they'll turn like red, and then they'll burn. So you know, like if they start turning red, okay, maybe you can back off a little. But actually a lot of people grow them like that. They want them to turn that color, so they put them in direct sun. So they can actually handle a lot of direct sun. But yeah, I just love this plant. I think it's beautiful. I think it's really pretty, and it's one of my favorites. Okay, so next on my list is my global green pothos. And I just love this plant too. I have a weakness for pothos in general. I just love pothos. I think they're such an underrated plant. They're awesome. They're so easy to keep, and they're just fun because they grow so fast. You can literally just watch them grow. I mean, all this is like new growth this summer. Like when I got this, it was like probably like down like here, and all of this is new growth. All of these vines, that's just from this summer. So I think it's awesome. Pothos in general, but this is the global green, and if you look closely, this is what the leaves look like. They have these the light colored green on the inside of the leaf, and then dark colored on the outside. And so it's not to be confused with the emerald pothos. The emerald pothos is actually the opposite. So in an emerald, the light color is on the outside, and the dark color is on the inside. So it's not the same. They are different, even though they look very similar. And now that I'm looking at it, actually, it kind of looks a lot similar to a glacier, but just like more green. So if you look at like this leaf, for instance, it looks very much like glacier, or this one, how it has kind of almost three colors. I don't know if you can see that, almost three kind of greens in it, like a light and a dark and kind of something in between. And there was actually a couple leaves that were even lighter. Oh yeah, here, look at these baby leaves. I don't know if you can, oh yeah, look, these are like super light. I don't know how that's coming about, but yeah, there's this one little vine growing here that has super light leaves. Oh, and here's the one that had like a cream splash in it. That's pretty cool, hey? So I know this plant was developed, it was created by Costa Farms as well. So it is an artificially created plant. And I'm guessing, and I don't know if this is correct, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm guessing this was created by somehow crossing a glacier with a golden or something like that, because the leaves are kind of crinkly like a glacier, or like even like an enjoy. Like if you've seen an enjoy pothos, they kind of have this kind of coloring, the light cream coloring with white and green. And so I think that's what they did. I think they somehow crossbred it to make it this cool color. And they were a little bit rare till not too long ago. Now they're pretty widely available. I've even seen them, I think, at like, I want to say Home Depot or something like that. Maybe Rona, but yeah, so they're not as rare anymore as they were. They were pretty rare a few years ago, and I've been looking and couldn't find one, and I finally got one. Just at the beginning of summer, I think I got this one, and yeah, I love it. And super easy, just like other pothos. Bright indirect. If you want to put it in lower light, you can, but the leaves won't stay as variegated. So they'll get more green, more dark green, and you won't see all this beautiful coloring. And the leaves will also stay a lot smaller, or get a lot smaller, if you put it in lower light conditions. But it won't die. It can totally live in a dark corner in your house. It needs some light, but it won't die in the shade either. But it'll just look a lot prettier in bright light. Right now I have it in bright indirect in my porch. And it gets a little tiny bit of evening sun, maybe just like half an hour or so, maybe an hour, that's it. But yeah, it's been doing great. And yeah, I love this. Isn't it pretty? I think it's so beautiful. Okay, so the next plant that I'm really jiving on right now is my Moonlight snake plant. Some people also call them moonshine snake plant, or I think the scientific name is Sansevieria laurentii. I think it's actually Sansevieria. I always say Sansevieria. I don't know. Sansevieria, tomato. Anyways, or Sansevieria trifasciata. And this is a species from West Africa. It's actually classified as a succulent. And they're really, really cool, like all snake plants are. But this one is, as you can see, it's a really cool color. This is the new growth right here. And because I had it in pretty bright light, I had it right in a west-facing window. So it was getting really bright evening sun. And so it made these really bright new growth right here. And there's a little one coming as well down here. And when I got it, it's just started out with, I think, which one was it? Like maybe one of these, probably the most tattered looking one. This is from one of my cats kind of screwing with the leaves. That's why it looks like this. She likes to wake us up in the morning by playing instruments on the plants. That's her way of waking us up. So that's probably why this looks like this. But yeah, so this plant, I think is so cool. I love all snake plants, but the Moonlight one I think is so cool because of the cool bright color. It's kind of like a silvery, creamy color. I think that's so nice. And if you look close, they also have a little bit of like a design, like a variegation on it, like a little bit of a banding, which is pretty cool too. If you put it in lower light, it gets darker. And that's why these leaves right here, some of the older leaves are darker, because I had it, I just had it in more of like a darker corner. In the winter, I had it in the bedroom and it was just kind of like on a plant stand and it didn't really get any natural light. I had some grow lights on it, but kind of further away. So it wasn't getting that much light, and that's why these actually turn darker. But if you put them in bright light, they get bright like this. I think it looks cool all together, the bright pieces and the dark pieces together. So I don't actually mind that it got a little bit darker. Yeah, I think it looks cool. I really love this plant, and they're really non-fussy too. Like you can get away with not watering them for like months at a time. In the winter, you hardly have to water them. And I know some people say like water it once a month or even once every 2 months. I do a little bit more. I find that it depends on your house and where you have it. Like right now I have it in like I said, in a window, and it gets lots of really bright light. So I water it once a week right now. And it seems to love it. It's just putting out lots of new growth, and it's already dry again. And I just watered it not too long ago. So right now I'm watering it more. In the winter, I water them, yeah, probably about once a month, I would say. When I first got snake plants, I was so scared of overwatering them because everybody was always like, oh, don't overwater them, only water them once in a while, that I would only water it like once every 2 months or something like that. And surprisingly enough, they didn't die. One of my snake plants, my cylindrica, I didn't even know if it was alive, honestly. I thought it was just a fake plant. For like 2 or 3 years, it did nothing. It just looked like it didn't grow, it didn't change in any way, and it just, I'll see if I can find a picture of it. I'll put it in the video, and it basically just stayed exactly the same for like 3 years. And I was watering it like once a month, and I was like, am I watering a fake plant? Because I've heard of that happening with people, which is really funny. So but then I put it actually in a brighter spot, and just recently I noticed there's new growth coming, so I guess it's alive. But yeah, so snake plants are pretty cool. I love this one. For lighting conditions for these, they can go into a dark corner. They won't die. They'll keep growing. These will just keep on trucking. Like I said, it'll just change color. But really easy plant, really lovely. I love it. Okay, so last but not least on my list of favorite plants this summer is one of my pink princess philodendrons. And I haven't made any videos on these lately because they've been giving me a little bit of problems for the last 2 years. So I've been kind of fighting with them a little bit, but this one is pretty good. So this one is actually really nice, and it's doing good. And I mean, I love them. I think they're beautiful. I mean, how can you not love these, right? Like, look at these leaves. Look at that pink. I love pink, but they're just so beautiful. So like almost like otherworldly looking when they get that pink variegation on them. And so I just had to include this one in here. So pink princess philodendron, philodendron erubescens, or blushing philodendron as it's also called. They're native to Colombia, I think. Yeah, native to Colombia. It's an aroid in the Raceae family, and they like high humidity. And I think that was the problem with mine before. I just couldn't get the humidity right. So they were doing really well in the summer, and then I had a couple winters where it was just so dry, and they just didn't do good, and just like they got thrips, and then they got really dry. It was just a constant struggle, honestly. But this one is finally, I think I finally figured it out, finally fine-tuned it, and this one is doing good. And I know I made a video about making them more pink, and that part I got down. So you know, that part is good. But it was just the humidity that was the problem for me, because we live in an old house, and like I said before, our winters are so dry that the plants really do suffer, especially philodendrons. I find for some reason I find philodendrons really tricky. Maybe it's just our house. I don't know why, but philodendrons in this house don't seem to do well. I don't have a lot of them because of that reason. And it seems like every time I get philodendrons, they just die. I don't know. But these ones I've been keeping alive. And this one's actually doing really good. So I think I finally figured it out, which is good. And I just love this one. It's so beautiful. And it's making a new leaf, as you can see right here. There's another leaf coming, and it's always so exciting when you get a new leaf. And yes, Truffy, okay. This cat, I'm telling you guys. Okay, sit down. All right, nobody wants to see your butt. Okay, so for lighting requirements for this, it's just like other tropicals, bright indirect light. These can handle a little bit of morning and a little bit of evening direct sun, just not scorching. You don't want to have it in direct sun all day long, because then these little delicate pink spots will actually burn. One way you can see if it's getting too much light is when the leaves turn a little bit more brown, and this one is pretty good because I've been babying it. But if they turn a little bit more, this one is pretty good. But some of them, like, maybe I'll link a picture of one of my decrepit ones. I'll show you what they look like when they get too much sun. Because I've been kind of experimenting with it. I have one that is like in a brighter light, and then I have this one which is in my east facing window and kind of away from the window, so it gets just bright indirect with a little bit of morning. And then I have one that's kind of like getting a lot of sun. So they're kind of like all three different because I've been experimenting. This one is the one that's doing the best. So yeah. And for watering, it's in a well-draining potting mix, just like any other aroids or, you know, epiphytes or anything like that. They like the well-draining potting mix because they don't like to sit in water, because these also they also are prone to root rot. So they don't like to sit in the water. So you want to, when I water it, I lift it out and I water it over the sink with filtered water because they're a little bit sensitive to chlorine and stuff. And then I put it back in and put it back. So yeah, and I water this when it gets dry to the second knuckle. So I stick my finger into the second knuckle. I don't know if you can see that. And that's when I water it if it's dry to the second knuckle. Yeah, so that's the last plant on my list of my favorite summer house plants. Favorite August. It's now August. House plants. Yes, and I don't want summer to end because I love summer, but it is coming to an end, unfortunately. So that's it for my favorite houseplant list for the summer. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something. And like always, please subscribe to my channel so that you never miss an episode. And let me know in the comments what you want me to talk about next, or if you have any questions or anything like that. Just let me know, and I appreciate all of you guys. And in the meantime, enjoy your cats, enjoy your plants. See you next time. Bye.